everybody. Welcome back to 4AR People. My name is Aliah, and as you know, we are still in the middle of legislative session. And so I want to talk a little bit about some bills that have been filed recently. Let's talk about this. All right, so in this video, I want to focus specifically on the anti-direct democracy bills that were filed by Senator Kim Hammer. And I want to talk about those because in the state of Arkansas, we believe in this little thing called regnant populace, meaning that the people rule. That is our state motto. And direct democracy is one of those things that speak to that. So I want to talk a little bit about that. So if you don't know what direct democracy is, we have this thing called the ballot initiative process here in the state of Arkansas, where citizens can put things on the ballot. To put it basically, citizens can put things on the ballot. We're one of not many states that have that. I believe less than 20 states have a ballot initiative process. And through the ballot initiative process, other states have been able to enshrine reproductive rights in their constitution, enshrine gay marriage in their constitution, things like that. So the ballot initiative process is important, and it is one of the purest forms of democracy that we still have. So with that, I say we should protect this process by any means necessary. We should not be attacking this process, and that is exactly what this slate of bills that I'm about to talk about does. So let's talk about it. All right, so like I said, Senator Kim Hammer filed a slate of anti-direct democracy bills. He filed Senate Bill 207 through Senate Bill 212. So there are 6 bills he filed that kind of target specifically the signature collection part of the ballot initiative process. So I want to talk a little bit about those. I'm going to go through every bill right now and kind of read the title and just talk about those for a second. All right, so Senate Bill 207, an act to amend the law concerning initiative and referendum petitions to require a canvasser to disclose that petition fraud is a Class A misdemeanor, to declare an emergency, and for other purposes, meaning every person signing a petition would have to be warned about petition fraud. This is intimidation at its finest. Let's move on. Senate Bill 208, an act to amend the law concerning initiative and referendum petitions to require a canvasser to view photo identification before obtaining a signature, to declare an emergency, and for other purposes. A historical change in petition signing in Arkansas, requiring people to show ID before signing, and that just creates unnecessary hurdles that we don't need. So moving on. Senate Bill 209. An act to amend the law concerning initiative petitions and referendum petitions to disqualify signatures obtained by a canvasser under certain circumstances, to declare an emergency, and for other purposes. If one canvasser is accused of wrongdoing, every signature that canvasser collected will be thrown out. Let's move on. Senate Bill 210, an act to create the required examining of authoritative Documents Act to amend the law concerning initiative and referendum petitions to require the signer to read the ballot title of the petition in the presence of a canvasser, to declare an emergency, and for other purposes. Signers will have to read the entire ballot title out loud to a canvasser before signing, otherwise the signature will not count. Moving on. Senate Bill 211, an act to amend the law concerning initiative petitions and referendum petitions to require a canvasser to submit an affidavit before signatures can be counted, to declare an emergency, and for other purposes, would force canvassers to submit extra affidavits before signatures can even be counted. Moving on. Senate Bill 212, an act to create the Document Validity Division to declare an emergency and for other purposes. It would be a new division under the Secretary of State that could investigate, subpoena, and declare petitions invalid with little oversight. All right, so let's talk about these bills as a whole. So if you don't understand how the direct democracy ballot initiative process works, you first have to get your ballot title approved with the Attorney General. He can reject it, he can approve it, but once it's approved, then you move into the signature gathering process, meaning you have to collect signatures in 50 out of the 75 counties in the state of Arkansas. It used to be 15, so that even has been made harder. You have to qualify in 50 out of the 75 counties in Arkansas. You have to get a certain number of petitions, just a certain number of signatures on all petitions just in general, and that's based off of the amount of people that voted in the previous governor's election. So the number could change in 2026 and then so on, but every 4 years. And then after you get the signatures, you have to turn them into the Secretary of State, who has to validate all the signatures. And then once he validates all the signatures, then you have to move into the kind of like GOTV process, get out the vote process, and get people to vote for that initiative when it's on the ballot. So it is a hard process. It is not easy, but it is all we have as citizens to get things on the ballot. So if you recall, last year we had a few ballot initiative petitions going around the state of Arkansas. Most controversial, I would say, are probably the marijuana amendment and then also the abortion amendment. And as you recall, the abortion amendment did not get to make it to the ballot. It got disqualified by the Secretary of State, and then that got upheld by the Supreme Court of Arkansas. And so sadly, that did not get to make it, and it disenfranchised over 101,000 people because that's how many people signed the petition. Now, the thing about petitions is there's already laws in place when it comes to signing. So petitions get thrown out, like signatures get thrown out all the time, whether it be someone accidentally signed twice, whether it be someone signed someone else's name and like they could see the same handwriting, whether it be someone wasn't registered to vote in the county that they signed for, because you have to be a registered voter in the state of Arkansas, and then that's broken up by county, so you have to sign where you are registered to vote, like which county and all that. So signatures get thrown out all the time. Like, this is not an easy process. And I believe the number this past year amount of signatures that had to be gotten for the initiatives was a little over 90,000. Like I said, the Arkansas Abortion Amendment collected 101,000. And that is like normal because like I said, signatures get thrown out all the time. So it's already hard to get enough signatures as it is. It's like incredibly hard. These bills are specifically aimed at that signature gathering process, which is already hard, and making them way harder. For instance, requiring people to show ID before signing. Let's talk about that. A lot of times when you're gathering signatures, you really don't have a lot of time, like a few months probably. Or I believe the Arkansas Abortion Amendment had from February to July, because you have to turn in the signatures at a certain amount of days before the election. So you really don't have that much time, 5 months maybe. And then in this time frame, you have to gather volunteers, and you have to gather canvassers who are willing to go to 75 counties in the state of Arkansas to collect signatures in their free time. A lot of the time it is a volunteer thing. There are paid canvassers, but specifically with the Arkansas Abortion Amendment, it was mostly volunteers gathering or collecting these signatures. So this is a horrible thing to like place on volunteers just in general, because there's also, not only is there these requirements, but there's also criminal liability attached to a lot of these. So when this was in the Senate State Agencies Committee, Senator Clark Tucker King was asking the questions we all wanted to know, right? One of those being, because you have to, like when you go to vote, you have to provide ID, period. But there is a curing process for that. So like if you don't have your ID, there's other options. With this bill, Senate Bill 208, there is not another option. You have to have a photo ID, period. So that is a concern. And also the amount of time it takes is interesting, especially with all of these together. So Senate Bill 208 requires you to show ID, and then there is Senate Bill 210, which would require the person to read the ballot title out loud. A lot of these ballot titles are not short either. A lot of these ballot titles are actually pretty lengthy. So keep that in mind. Having to warn them about petition fraud. So imagine you're a canvasser. You're trying to get someone to sign the petition, and a lot of times there's multiple ballot initiatives going on at once. A lot of people are carrying the same, like, multiple petitions at once. So imagine being a canvasser, going up to one person to get them to sign all your petitions, and you're having to warn them of petition fraud. You're having to make sure they read the ballot title. You're having to check their ID, and then not only that, but a lot of canvassers will like validate that someone is registered to vote. So you're doing that as well. How much time do you think that takes? Like, that takes way too much time, and you don't have enough time. Like, especially with these ballot initiatives, time is of the essence. Time is something we will never have enough of. So, this is just aimed to kind of like slow down the process, but also make it 10 times harder. So, not a fan of those. Also, I just want to note, Senator Hammer is running for Secretary of State. he announced his run for Secretary of State in January. So it is not a secret that this man is running for Secretary of State. And then he proposes Senate Bill 212, which would create a new division under the Secretary of State to investigate, subpoena, and declare petitions invalid with little oversight. That sounds like not a coincidence. I don't know. I don't know. That's just me. That's just my take. He's also creating new pathways to invalidate signatures, right? Because realistically, how is this going to be enforced? How is it going to be enforced? How are you going to, how is the Secretary of State's office going to invalidate a signature based on someone not having read the ballot title? I'm curious. How is he going to do that? Also, how is he going to verify if someone looked at someone's ID or not? You know what I mean? It's just like, it's to me, it feels like it's incentivizing these petitioners to be under a microscope. So with the abortion amendment, I know I keep bringing up the abortion amendment, but that's the best example of why these bills are even being ran in the first place. With the abortion amendment, there were a lot of places that these canvassers were at where maybe a anti-choice group would show up and protest. So it seems like these bills would be incentivizing that to catch these canvassers in wrongdoing. That's another side of the coin on this that I just don't love, because that just promotes intimidation of canvassers and just intimidation of the signers. You know what I mean? It's just not cool. Not cool. It's not kosher. It's not very cash money of you, Senator Kim Hammer. So I'm gonna say some more. Give me a second. I gotta collect myself. All right. So while this was being heard in the Senate State Agencies Committee, there is also another notion provided by Senator Hammer, that signatures should be treated the same as votes. Signatures should be under the same microscope as votes, or just treated to the extent as votes. Which, mind you, Senator Clark Tucker pointed out that there is a cure for when you go vote, and you don't have an ID, but there wouldn't be a cure for when you sign and you don't have an ID. So that's interesting. But he said they should be treated the same. I just want to say on the record right now, I fully and wholeheartedly disagree with that. All right, and I'll tell you why. So when you're signing a petition, you are saying, in my view, and feel free to disagree with me in the comments, when you were signing a petition, you were saying that you think this should be on the ballot for the voters. Nothing about signing that petition means you will not be able to vote against it or anything like that. You are not really endorsing the issue. You are endorsing the fact that it should be on the ballot. And there are issues that a lot of people believe should be on the ballot for the people to vote on it. Because when we elect our legislators, we're not going to fully disagree with them all the time. Or we're not going to fully agree with them all the time. That's just what it is. When we vote for those people, we are not necessarily voting for issues. We are not voting for issues specifically. We are voting for the person and that they're best represent us, in my view. So when you sign a petition, that doesn't necessarily mean you will be voting for that issue. You know what I mean? But you are signing it with the hope that it will get on the ballot so that the majority of Arkansans can decide. And so that's why I think it's a lot different than a vote, because nothing about your signature is permanent. You could sign it and it not even get on the ballot. You could sign it and it gets on the ballot and it fails. Nothing about your signature represents the future of that initiative and that petition, except for the fact that they might get enough signatures to be able to put it on the ballot. That's it. That's all it means. So I disagree with Senator Hammer on that. And let me know what y'all think in the comments below. If y'all think I'm wrong, I would like to hear from you guys. But that is how I view it. It should not be the same as a vote. But also it's a lot of these restrictions are not placed on voting. You know what I mean? Especially the having to read the ballot title thing. Because it's not like you go to the voter polling place and have to read the platforms of every candidate on the ballot. You know what I mean? You don't have to read their platforms and read about these people. Like, that's not how voting works. That'd be silly. And like, these ballot titles are on the ballot. Like, they're on the ballot when you go vote. Like, you can read it. It's just like, it also is just like, I guess what I'm saying is like, it's an insult to the Arkansan voter because it's like, you're assuming Arkansans are just going to blindly vote. You're assuming Arkansans are not educated voters, and that is not the case, because they can look up these ballot initiatives. These ballot initiatives are posted everywhere. They can hear an ad. They can do more research. Like, if they hear an ad about a ballot initiative, they can go do some research on their own. Like, you're assuming that Arkansans are not going to like educate themselves and that they can't. And I think that is completely false and untrue. So yeah, and lastly, I want to talk a little bit about some of the public testimony during the committee meeting. So I'm going to talk about that right now. A lot of people were signed up to testify on behalf of this bill, whether it be, or not this bill, but the slate of bills, whether it be against or for or whatever. So the people who were speaking kind of for these bills were saying a lot of the things of like, I witnessed canvassers misrepresenting what their ballot initiative was and all this stuff. I witnessed that. So I want to say there are some laws already on the books pertaining to signature gathering. Like I said, one of them being you can't sign for someone else. You have to sign for yourself. You have to be a registered voter in the state of Arkansas. You have to be registered in the county that you're signing for. Another one is you have to have the ballot initiative attached to every single petition. Ballot title and all. You have to have it attached to every single petition. That is the law. So if someone doesn't have that they are breaking the law, I will say. And so if you're signing a petition and you're not sure what it's for, this is for like everyone out there, just for future reference. If you're signing a petition and you are unsure what it is for, the person doesn't tell you what it's for, ask to see the back of the petition, because it should be there. The ballot title, all of it, the language of it should be there, should be attached. So if you are going to sign a petition, make sure you do that. But that being said, yeah, the people speaking against the bills were just really talking about how unnecessary all of this is and how targeted it feels. And also, it just makes no sense as it relates to volunteer canvassers specifically, because it's like, these are people who are like volunteering their time, their free time, their weekends, their only incentive that these people have for doing this is the passion for the issue and the passion to change Arkansas and get this on the ballot so people can have a voice. That is their only incentive to do this. They are not getting paid to do this. So it seems unfair to attach these like regulations to these canvassers and kind of just intimidate them. And it makes it feel as though no one's going to want to volunteer to do this anymore if they know that the process is like this. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. That's all for today's video. Call your senators, call your representatives, because this is going to go through all the processes. Let them know now that you are not for this. Despite how far it gets, let them know that you are not for this, and let them know now. Let them know as soon as possible. Blow up their phones. Like, let's not give them a moment of peace on this, okay? Let's do it. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Follow our legislative session coverage. We are on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We're here. Blue Sky, Twitter. We're on all of it. Check us out, and thank you for watching, and we'll see y'all next week. This is becoming a weekly Thursday thing. So check us out, and thank you for watching, and bye. See y'all later.